Right, no more swearing, everyone.
Don't say or.
Evening. We're live.
Evening all.
We started live on 6 seconds, so if anybody wants to tell us what happened in the 6 seconds before our live button showed up,
I wouldn't want to see that footage.
Mike's just taking his jacket off.
Yeah, that's when you know. That's when you know something's happening.
Who knows? Who knows? But thanks for joining us. If you're joining us on a Thursday evening, 6 o'clock. I think this is our penultimate Thursday night at 6.
Ooh,
we're running out of time. So for those who have joined us for the last 100 odd Thursday night at 6s, thanks very much. And look out for what we're doing in the new year. There'll be a massive uplift and something of serious value. But
yeah, celebrities and everything.
Why not?
Yeah,
that's what you're here for.
There's a limit.
Danger, death, maybe. I can't promise anything. So this evening, just to confuse the public, obviously I'm Mike Robson of Avocado Property. With me, I thought I'd bring Mike Robinson of Avocado Property.
We all get confused now.
Next to each other. We received many an email for each other this week, mainly from the same solicitor.
Yeah, I've seen that one with you choosing your words carefully on that, Mike.
It is what it is. You tell someone 3 times. The 4th time, you've got to tell them a little more for family. Also, Neil of Avocado Property and Chris of Avocado Property. So we got specialists in Surrey, Berkshire and North Hampshire on the live. This evening, we're going to talk about how bloody dark it is outside, firstly.
I changed my light settings earlier. I was like, why are the lights not on? I was like, oh, geez, it's only 4 o'clock.
We're going to talk about the really improvement of Mike's surroundings from his normal dark, dingy study.
I like it.
Yeah, it's the solitary confinement's not good for lives, so I've had to bin it off.
And we're going to talk about whether Chris's green wall is better than the original Avocado green wall in a green wall fight. But on some serious topics, we're going to talk about the winter market. We've had a lot of news over the last 48 hours about interest rates, inflation rates, housing ministers, and I'm sure some other stuff. But I reckon one of the 3 of you have added topic number 1 on our Facebook post, Festive Fly Boarding.
Oh.
It's got Chris's name all over it.
Yeah, you don't need many opportunities to guess.
You're ready for a rant.
Yeah, I just feel it. I didn't write this up, so I just feel Chris added Festive Fly Boarding on our Facebook
post.
Such a
contradiction and juxtaposition in festive, such a nice word, and then fly tipping.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, look, I'll keep it brief, but the reason I wanted it on there was because obviously the public don't necessarily, they probably not, well, maybe they are noticing that literally around Christmas time, loads and loads of boards, sold boards, let by boards, and all of a sudden pop up in random places at the end of roads with no numbers on, no house names or anything like that. And despite from the fact is you're not allowed to do that, it's more a case of just wanting to give a little bit of education to the public for people that will be watching this to say that, this is agents cheating the game. And it's not right. We don't do it. Certainly we don't here. We all know the rules that a board has to be on the curtilage of a property. And there's a couple of offenders that are doing it at the moment. I'm really tempted to name them. But I won't because I used to work for one of them.
Why don't you say their name without saying their name? Like you changed the start slightly.
Yeah, if I
why don't you just say like I used to work for one of them? Maybe look at my LinkedIn profile if you want the name.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. But no, it's more a case of just trying to create a bit of awareness about it. I mean, the ones that really take the mickey, I take down. Yeah, and I've even told one specific agent that if you're wondering why some of your boards are missing or not up, it's because of me. I've taken them down. They're not damaged. They're just neatly put to the side where they need to be. But it's just it's not right. It ends up being littering because they do. The public take them down as well. Because in Frimley Green, there was quite a few up from one of these agents, and 3 of them have been taken down. They're just laying on the path. People having to put prams over them, kids having to walk over them and stuff, and it becomes litter. So it's more a case of, as we come into the end of November and start of December, particularly just before the shutdown, you'll see loads of boards go up, and it always happens around Christmas in Frimley, Camberley, bit of Farnborough as well. But yeah, there's a couple of big offenders in Camberley. But yeah, that's all I'll say. But just to make the public aware, not all it is as it seems.
Yeah, I think from a seller's point of view, so you know what the rules are, as Chris said, he used a jargon word. Curtilage. If you're going to have a sale board, make sure it's on your property, not at the end of the road. Obviously, the end of the road, hopefully it helps, but it doesn't, because nobody knows what on earth it's for. And it looks like it's just been shoved there. And sometimes, as Chris is inferring to, sometimes they just have been shoved there, just to get the agent's name out there. Ironically, in my area, rather than boards appearing over Christmas, traditionally boards disappear over Christmas.
They make great ice scrapers for the driveway in terms of just shoving.
I will say, they also make extremely good sledges.
If it's
did you say that little stash of boards was again, Chris?
I won't even be mad if someone takes my boards and uses them as a sledge, gets loads of little photos. Just let me know. Just
post it on social media.
Yeah,
I'll take 10, thanks, Chris.
You've opened a can of worms right there for Christmas. There's just going to be Avo boards everywhere.
The kids call Chris. He'll supply you with a free sledge. There's an avocado promise, as long as you post it on Instagram and tag him in.
There you go. Do it.
All fun and games. We've cleared that up. Chris's rant. Hopefully, he's a bit more relaxed now.
I'm all right. I'm calm.
Good. Changed man. Good. Someone else has added rant topic number 2, and unveiling the truth behind Boxing Day launches. Now, I'll give some context around this. Allegedly, Boxing Day is the busiest day for Rightmove hits on their website and searches. So, over the last couple of years, it's become trendy for estate agents to list property new. So they go live as such on Rightmove on Boxing Day for people to see them. I get the common sense behind that. Who wants to tell me why it's wrong or whether it's right?
Straight in there.
I choose Neil.
I've actually sold a house on Christmas Day, but what other estate agent is working on Boxing Day? I know I'll be doing more than... Well, I won't be looking at Rightmove. I'll be looking at bar menus. That's all I want to do on Christmas. Just get me a cocktail menu. I'll be fine. But yeah, they can launch them. But what are they going to do between the 26th and when they come back to work, which is probably the 4th or the 6th or whatever it works out as this year round? They're not going to do anything. None of them are in the office. So what's the benefit?
Yeah, this is a topic that I was quite keen to chat about as well, because yes, fine, I appreciate over the course of Christmas week and when most businesses are on shutdown, the internet traffic does increase, but they're not there to deal with it, as you've alluded to there quite rightly. But from a seller's perspective, anyone who's watching this who's thinking about, okay, yeah, maybe I'll go live on Boxing Day, go live 2 weeks before the Christmas shutdown. Get the benefit of some very good motivated buyers, because whilst all agents are doing slightly less viewings at the moment, the quality of them are far better in terms of number of viewings per offer, and that is probably the best advice I can give on that. It's just crack on. What are those 2 weeks costing you? They're not. Just take advantage of it. You may well be under offer before Christmas, as long as you've had the right advice.
Agreed.
We were doing
if you just because. If you want to sell your house, why would you hold off until Boxing Day? Why wouldn't you just list it before Boxing Day? Because it will still be there on Boxing Day for people to see if it is truly the busiest day of the year on the site. It doesn't give you a wild benefit. Yep, you might be the 3rd listing on the site, but if you genuinely do have 2 hours free and people are spending 5 times the amount of time on Rightmove, then they're going to see it anyway. And you might have even secured a buyer before Christmas, which means you can have an extra glass of something sparkling on Christmas Day and Boxing Day to celebrate it. My issue with it is I think it's a marketing ploy dreamt up by estate agents for estate agents, not a marketing tactic or marketing plan dreamt up by estate agents to help their clients. That's my opinion on it, and that's why I disagree with it, because I don't see any way, shape or form that it benefits people to hold their listing back just so the estate agent can launch 10 houses all at the same time and look massive or something on Boxing Day. And I'm quite happy to be challenged on it and about it. And why? Because I do know that Dan and Neil sold a house on Boxing Day a couple of years ago, but they're out doing the viewing on Boxing Day a couple of years ago. Personally, I won't be out doing viewings on Boxing Day, and I doubt very many clients would welcome viewings around their house on Boxing Day, because my house will be a tip, as most other people's houses will be, full of Christmas paper and toys. So that's our thoughts on it. Is if you're going to sell your house, just crack on and sell your house. As Chris said, there are less buyers registering, but those who do register are serious. I know a number of people who are looking to move. We registered over 600 buyers in the last 30 days. So there is no shortage of buyers.
I say a similar thing to a lot of people that are questioning that and the right time to sell, about waiting till January. But ultimately, like Chris said, the buyers that are out there at the moment are decent buyers. They're going to buy your house regardless. You're just going to fall into that supply and demand element where, yes, buyers are looking, but ultimately there's a hell of a lot more properties that have come available as well. So you're going around in circles on it. Get the quality buyer now before you go into the midst of 20 more houses coming on.
I feel like you've almost just read that comment out. Just in different words.
He has.
Just while you were talking.
I should turn the comments on.
You make your life easier, give you an opinion to have.
No, it is as simple as that. Yes, people are looking, but are they going to do anything before January? No. And then are there going to be more properties coming available in January? Yes. So supply and demand, it's better to do it now. As I've been saying to people for the last few weeks, do it this side of Christmas rather than having a lot more competition as a seller in January.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. So bridging that perfectly, almost as if I'm a professional presenter.
You're not.
How do you master the art of selling your property before Christmas?
Oh, I like Dan and I done a little video on this last year, and we've done a video on it the year before. We had a bit of fun with it in terms of making sure the heating's on. But yeah, I don't know if you want to go around the room, but I would say definitely having it feeling warm. A bit like Mike's living room at the moment. Nice and warm.
Lovely and cozy. Lovely and cozy. That's the way to do it. Speaking of cozy, my little one's just walked in as well. So she's trying to be on TV.
Here she comes.
Hello. And she's and talking of being warm, she's got an ice pop of all things. So not very warm.
Definitely got the heating dialed up.
Yeah, we've got it turned up to maximum.
It's tropical in Mike's house. Chris, what are your thoughts? I mean, Neil said make sure the house is warm.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying. I mean, I think for an occupied house, let's say, obviously a vacant house, same rule applies, obviously. But yeah, I think keeping it warm. I'm not saying don't have it Christmassy. You know, a lot of people, so don't put any Christmas decks up or anything like that. But no, don't turn your lives upside down and change the way you live in just for the sake of marketing. That's not a problem. But I think it's got to look cozy. Yes, it's dark. Obviously, put the bloody lights on. Goes without saying. But have that done before anyone walks through. Have everything ready, pre-staged, all the lights on, heating on half an hour before, whatever, and just have it staged. Make it look cozy, make it look pretty, and just welcoming. I know this is all really obvious things that it doesn't take a rocket scientist of an estate agent to say it, but it's simple. Just coziness. It's that time of year. It's rubbish outside. Let's walk into a nice cozy house. Yes, fine. Bake some bread, stick the coffee on, all the usual things. Do whatever, but it all helps.
Get the fire going. I love fires at this time of year.
Yeah.
Get the fire
going.
As
long
as
the other big one is as well is outside lights. It's so annoying when they're not working, and it makes such a big difference being able to have a light that actually comes on so they can feel kind of greeted. It's the first thing almost before they've walked through the door and felt the heat, etc.
Yep.
That first impression from the outside, actually more so in winter. You know, there's leaves absolutely everywhere at the moment. You don't want people trudging through a load of wet leaves and then having to just look at the doormat for 2 minutes while they wipe their feet off before they've even looked into the house. So, you know, not that you need to be out there with an emergency broom, but it just make sure it's generally, you know, tidy.
Yeah, no, I completely right, and that just reminded me of another thing as well. Obviously, with outside lights and stuff, if you haven't got a board, because not everyone has a board, make sure your house number is visible. Have ideally, you know, with your outside lights, you know, have it on, you know, showing, because it's not that easy, is it? You know, you're driving down the street at night trying to find a house number. It's not easy. So just make yourself make your house number as visible as possible for that purposes.
Or have a board. Make sure
I was going to say that was going to be one of my top tips, was because people quite often view after 4 o'clock, is make sure your board is up and visible. From the street, not at the end of the road, because that doesn't help anyone, because they won't find your house. Have it on the curtilage of your property.
Everyone will be turning up at the sign at the end of the road, like, no, I've been here for 2 hours.
Where's your Asian?
Yeah.
I'm at the property.
3 viewings queued up at the end of the road, and you're 10 doors down.
My tip's going slightly deeper into it, presuming that you're going to have a buyer on your property before Christmas, is if you're listing your house in the next 2 weeks, when you list your house, make sure you have already appointed your solicitor, because there is a lot of work that can be done and sent out and paperwork completed before the Christmas break, because notoriously, other than completions, nothing happens in the second half of December. If you find a buyer in the first week of December, if your solicitor is pre-appointed, there's no reason, and you've done your paperwork, there's a couple of predetermined legal forms that you have to fill out. You can have that all sent out to your buyer to get things done or to get things ready before. So when you get into January, your buyer's already got a lot of work done. They've paid for their searches and they're ordered, rather than having to start the transaction a month after you agreed an offer.
And you've also got the mail as well that's busy, right? So when you're trying to send back stuff, you'd like to hope via recorded delivery, but you know, even we've still had a few issues with that where stuff hasn't gone and been received. It's only heightened at Christmas when there's cards flying about, you know, there's extra delivery people on. If you're sending important paperwork and then it doesn't get there, and you got to wait until January to try and find out.
And please send it recorded.
Or another good reason, use a local solicitor so you can just hand deliver it.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
I'm trying to point at that comment. Didn't go very well. But I totally agree. It's much easier that way. If you're selling your house, is make sure your solicitor is accessible. Well, ideally, your solicitor's accessible to you, so you can do that. If you want to get things done, if you want to exchange before Christmas, there is no easier way of guaranteeing it than just driving your paperwork to your solicitor, rather than sticking it in the post and hoping for the best. Because obviously the postal system becomes less reliable year on year.
There's a lot of people robbing DPD vans at the minute, so you've got to be careful.
Yes, it's very true.
There you go. Your paperwork.
You said it almost like that's what you're doing this week.
Yeah. Be careful out there.
I'll keep you coming for you.
It's like a threat rather than advice.
I will rob your paperwork.
Not sure where to go with that. Current buyer trends. Who's still in the market? I just mentioned over 600 buyers have registered with us in the last 30 days. So I'm bridging again. Who is still in the market and why on the 16th of November, 2 weeks before Christmas decorations can go up? Although ours have been delivered today.
Ooh.
Just going to get serious in here.
Oh, God.
Photos will be posted on Facebook.
It's going to look like Santa's thrown up in your office, isn't it?
Potentially, yeah. I'll give everyone a preview of the.
Did you get those baubles that you sent through to me the other day, Mike?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
What are we saying?
That's delightful, isn't it?
Pink.
It looks like it's come off Elton John's jacket.
Does a bit, doesn't it? Yeah. We're not sorry either. Yeah, so who is still in the market and why in the next 5 weeks?
We're finding, and I'm sure it's probably hopefully the same for everyone else, but I think the buyers that we've got at the moment, and I touched on doing less viewings but having more motivated buyers during one of my rants earlier. But I think a lot of people that are looking at the moment are people that need to find. They might have a chain behind them. They might have a bit of pressure from a buyer who they want to keep happy, want to keep on board, and give them some positiveness before the Christmas shutdown. And that's what we're finding at the moment, which I generally always find. And I think a lot of the people that are out viewing are people that need to find, and of course the ones that want to. But I think there was a lot of buyers out there at the moment that need to. And chains, we all have our opinions on chains and things, but you want to keep as many people in that chain happy as you can.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've been talking to a lot of people about the market changing, and a lot of the necessity moves are still happening. As Chris said there, the want to moves are still about, but the necessity moves are still important as ever. Mm-hmm. So you've got the people that were just making the upsize because they could have kind of sat back a little bit, but the people that are needing to move for schools, or they've had another child or anything like that, that market is still there for sure. And it's still very, very active, which is great.
I see. We were one of those as well. We've just moved. In fact, I think the last time we were on, we were just talking about the place that we were buying, which ours was a move of necessity. We needed the extra space. Now we've got the extra little one, and we did do it. I will say we exchanged in 4 weeks, so It can be done.
People in high places, eh, Chris?
Oh, not even that. No, not even that. Just good people. The agent we bought through was absolutely spot on. The sellers were spot on, both, and the lawyers both were as well, amazingly. So we were lucky to a point, but yeah, we just got on with it. Yeah. Obviously, we should know what we're doing, shouldn't we? But
no, that is good. But yeah, I think it's similar to what you said. People are going to need to move regardless. And I think also going back to what you're saying about the two groups of people, the need to moves and the want to moves. I think we're seeing more want to move slowly start coming back because of things like the interest rates coming down. And albeit it's, trickling down faster than the steep rise that it went up with. I think it's usually takes a couple of weeks after it's happened for it to properly sink in. So people are more aware of the rates kind of coming back. And okay, well, maybe it's time to start looking around, seeing what's happening. So, yeah, things are still moving, aren't they? And at the end, like we're saying, you get serious buyers at this time of year that are prioritizing their move, which they should be, over everything else that's going on.
Exactly.
So, and if they're going to be looking at something, they're going to be probably making a decision, and they're not going to be a serial viewer.
Yeah.
No, and they also won't be waiting until Boxing Day.
Well, there might be.
Well,
probably not.
They've been told about the rush.
Another point to add, what I've noticed, I've had 3 buyers this week that I've been dealing with that are renting, and their rent has gone up massively. So again, they're now thinking, well, I might as well just buy. So it is a necessity really, in the fact that their rent is just not as affordable as it was, and therefore they think, well, bugger it, I'll just buy something. So I've had 3 of those recently, which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think economically we're at an interesting point. There's always an equilibrium about renting and buying. If it's more expensive to rent the house that you live in than it is to buy it, there's always going to be a motivation of first-time buyers to get on the housing ladder. If it's cheaper to rent, then that motivation to do it wanes slightly. Because you don't have to. It's quite easy to rent. You don't have to tie up all your cash in doing it. You can have that invested into something else, like a high interest account, yielding 5% every month rather than putting your deposit down. So I totally see why increasing rents does push people to buy if mortgage rates are coming down. And I think this December is one of the most interesting economic points that we've seen in the last couple of years. And people have talked about booms, they've talked about price drops, talked about recession endlessly for 3 years, yet recession hasn't come. So house prices have dropped through this year. There's absolutely no discussion around that. House
Mm.
prices across the board have dropped this year because of affordability issues, because it's more expensive to borrow the money to buy the house. So house prices drop. Now, inflation has dropped to 4.6%, I believe. Wage growth is way over 4.6%. Interest rates have been held for the last 2 months, but that's only Bank of England interest rates. The swap rates, which is where banks borrow money from each other, has dropped consistently for the last probably 6 weeks, and will likely drop further because inflation has dropped, which means in the early part of 2024 it is likely to see borrowing around about 4%. So my question to 3 learned estate agents: are we at the bottom of the market?
Bottom of the market is a bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
That's a clickbait title, that.
That should have been the strap line for this.
I think the market's going to pick back up again in terms of more buyer activity and more offers, higher percentage offers as well. What Dan and I have always had the technique of pricing competitively to sell over, and that kind of, we're still selling stuff at asking price or over asking price, but people aren't paying as much over as they used to. Then they're just being a bit more cautious with what they're offering, which I think won't go as crazy as it did at the start of the year or last year. But I think we'll start to have a bit more activity where people are a bit more fruitful with their money and their offers, and just trying to win the house, win the property over anything.
I'm in no way, shape or form suggesting we return to whatever it was, 2021 market, because interest rates aren't 1.1% on borrowing £500,000. But the question remains, guys, what do you think, Chris?
I think if we're not at the bottom, we're close to it. I think there's a number of decent positive factors that I think are giving the confidence to buyers. As you said, as we've said several times on this chat, 600 buyers in the last few weeks that we've registered as a group. That's massive. I guarantee there's not many other agencies with 5 or 6 branches on the high street that are registering anywhere near that many people. So I think the confidence is coming back, and I think the deals that are being put together, because fall-through rates have been a lot higher this year for every single estate agent out there. You're lying if you say otherwise. But I think, so I'm going a long way around about saying it, I know, but I think we're either at the bottom or we're very close to it. And I think what's kind of skewing that is, I think there's still a lot of property that is probably too much money on the market, because we're still seeing the reductions day in, day out. That's not necessarily reflective of the market coming down, and that's what I think the public say. I see on Rightmove, reduction. No. That's not the market. That's the agent's fault. It creates this false impression of the market. So, that's my very long-winded opinion.
Always long-winded, mate. Always long-winded, but we got there in the end, right?
He needs my productivity timer for his talks, I think.
I agree with Chris, though, to be fair on that. I mean, that firstly, there is a lot of overpriced stock available, and I think people just need to realise that it needs to kind of come down to sensible money for that to happen. But that's not necessarily their problem. That's probably the agent's fault, but that's another story. But it's positive in terms of the way things are moving, and if the mortgage rates continue to come down, then that can only improve, albeit that we had the kind of COVID tax, didn't we, of you wanted to move. It was a case of, well, what can you pay, and see if you can try and get something to buy. So we're not actually, we're coming just down off of that peak that we kind of made for ourselves when we had cheap money, really. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad time to look at it, but you don't have a crystal ball, do you? That's the problem. It's a case of going, well, if the time is right, then it's right. It's as simple as that. And you sort of buy or play with the cards you've been dealt.
100%.
Kyle's just dropped in a last question. because we're just underneath our half hour. Would you welcome a change to stamp duty in the autumn statement? Rishi Sunak.
£5 discount.
Rishi Sunak and his million housing ministers. He's had more housing ministers than I've had hot dinners or changes of merchandise in the last 3 years.
Sorry about that.
It's stamp duty, something that's constantly fiddled with. Would that be a welcome change to the housing market, or is it meddling?
Why do we need it? We've already got, for first-time buyers, it's a permanent fixture that they pay nothing up to 425 grand. And is that setting the first-time buyer market on fire? No. Okay, if they opened it up to everyone, possibly. It's a big chunk of saving, isn't it? But do I think that's going to save this market? I don't think we need it.
It would do what it done before, which is just pretty much put a halt on the first-time buyers. So the middle of the market will still move, but you need the bottom of the market to actually have that dominoes effect throughout the market. So yeah, I think keeping that incentive for first-time buyers is definitely there to be had. But burning 10, 20 grand each time you move to your next house is heart-wrenching, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and you're going to create an issue where, let's face it, when it was mental, it was impossible to try and get anything done because it was just too crazy, and ultimately the solicitors didn't really have the capacity to deal with the volume of transactions that they were dealing with, hence the reason that they messed about with it before and extended it to give those transactions a bit longer. So if they do something again, and not saying that they do or they don't, I think it has to have a completely different game plan in terms of, right, these are almost the terms. What have we learned from last time when we just pulled the pin on the grenade of chaos? I don't think a second grenade through the door is probably going to eradicate all the issues from last time. But yeah, maybe with some stipulations, perhaps.
I'll leave the conversation with potentially a sensible solution if stamp duty was to be meddled with. And I say meddle, you can probably get my opinion on it, is when the stamp duty amounts were brought in a few years ago, house prices rose as a result, and then obviously we went stamp duty free for a year or so, 18 months, I can't even remember now. It was a haze, and house prices rose by about 20%. So we've probably seen about a 30-odd% average increase in house prices since stamp duty amounts were last reviewed. So the government are on a winner here.
Of course. Because
more people than ever are paying the higher rate of stamp duty, which is eye-watering. It's an eye-watering amount of money to buy a family home in the southeast. If I was party to conversations, because I'm just as qualified as David Cameron, let's be honest, I'm just as elected as David Cameron is to be in that room. I would say the stamp duty thresholds need a review because too many people are in the top band when they're buying houses that are not top band houses just because of natural house prices. Not sure it'd be popular with the Chancellor because they'd lose some cash. But that's what I would do.
They like that cash. They like it.
So, gents, Mike, Chris, Neil, 6:30. Neil's going raging.
I've got a fun game. I've got a fun game as well. I've just thought of while sat here. So
this could go anywhere.
Yeah,
so stay tuned.
Yeah,
it's not my usual
watershed, Neil.
It's not my usual kind of game, so clothes will stay on. But I have a jar of Alan the Avocado
24.
So I'm putting it out there. If anyone, I'm not going to touch this for 24 hours. If anyone guesses the correct number in this jar, I will deliver an Alan the Avocado keyring to them. There you go.
Well, 24 is my guess.
Well, I'll count it tomorrow at 6:30. So
it's quite a long drive for you to drive to him as well, just to give him a key ring.
Yeah, you have to post it.
The last competition winner, you'll love this. The last competition winner was in Liverpool.
Oh, nice. Hand delivered.
Hand delivered. I'll go for a weekend. But if anyone, drop a comment with your guess. And if anyone gets it right, you get an Alan. There you go. There's your fun game.
Yeah, like
it.
Gents, thanks for joining us. If you want to join
yeah.
Neil's competition, post a number on the comments below on any of the threads and we'll pass them on to him. Also comment where you live, and the further away that you are, the more chance I'll give you of winning, because
We'll
I'd
have
like
to
to see it happen.
put a targeted ad on this one to the Outer Hebrides.
Will do. Good evening, gents.
See you later, guys.